Am I like pre-rugged or am I good?
Shinjin fell for the old trap, the old bait and switch. So what happens, bro, is the main account Moss is playing music. Roughly 80% of us do not hear the music, but as soon as one of us unmutes, it stops the music for the remainder 20%.
Oh, fantastic. Then I'm glad I did it because if I got to suffer in silence, everyone's got to suffer in silence. Eat it, people.
Perfect. Every
I was
week so
wondering
far,
why.
man.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh
If it
my
makes you
God.
feel any
I'm,
better, none
yeah.
of us hear it. Me, Gaspode, none of our team hear it except Moss. Every week he sends us a screen recording to prove that music is being played in the space because we all call him out saying, "Bro, we're dead ass sat here in silence. What are you talking about?"
But what about the
But
listeners? Do the listeners hear it or not? And the panelists don't?
We've had a feedback of around 20% of people that join can actually hear the music, but I think it's more
Oh
the
my God.
panel that definitely don't get to hear the music.
I think sometimes
Okay.
it also depends if you have your mic open as the host. If you have the mic open and hit the music again, then everyone can hear it. I think Twitter is still, or X is still rugging us from time to time on purpose, just so we talk about it to our friends and say, like, "Did you see in the space again that and that happened?" I think that's just the word to mouth thing that they wanna push. I'm sure he does that on purpose.
There's definitely a user, interface issue where like you have to have the secret know-how to do a simple function. Because I'm sure in some nerdy developer's mind, it actually makes sense. Like, obviously, that's how you should do it. Like posting something up in one of these spaces. Like, it's the most unintuitive thing ever. If I don't do it, I forget how to do it. Uh,
do,
I'm in
do
a
you know the first
taxi.
time?
Yeah.
You know the
So
first.
you guys,
Speaking of that,
yeah,
shit,
go
the
ahead.
first time that I got
Yeah.
entrusted to pin stuff to the top of the space instead, I was just getting it wrong. Both Gaspode and Elias were like, "Oh, you just pin it to the space. You just pin it to the space." I was like, "I don't know how to do this. It sounds simple when you guys say it like this, but I don't know how to achieve what you're telling me to do."
One time someone called me in the beginning and said, "Yeah, just pin it to the Jumbotron." And I was like, "What the fuck is a Jumbotron? Where do I pin stuff?" I was completely overwhelmed, and then I read up on it. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm just in the taxi because I was actually speaking at an AI conference and I was a keynote speaker and it ran very late. And so I'm rushing over to my friend's place. But luckily I'm in Bangkok traffic, so I might just be in the car for the entire time of the space. But if I get disconnected, I will reconnect. It means I made it to my destination.
This is easily the wildest start to our space ever, just because it's three people that already speak to each other in general. And I can't believe you're in Bangkok again, bro. You need to let me know these things. I'm back down here now
Oh,
since the last couple of months.
oh, where are you now?
Still in Bangkok. I'm not going to dox my
Oh,
precise location, but I am
okay.
living back in Bangkok. So I'll have to
Then
let you know whereabouts.
Monday, Tuesday, I'm in Bangkok for meetings. Let's go for Korean barbecue lunch and pig out.
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds good to me. I'll speak to you after the space because there's someone else I think you should meet as well. But yeah, I'll start this space properly now that Chris is here, and we'll do the actual stuff that people came to listen to, and not
Okay,
me and
fine.
you, me and you setting up dinner dates.
Sure, sure. All right, I'll mute myself. No one wants to hear about our dating history.
I
Okay,
think that's the most interesting topic today, most likely. So I would join if I would be there.
I know you need to abandon the fatherland and come over here. That's what you need to do if you want to be hitting
Yeah,
up this Korean barbecue.
it's on
Or we'll
my
get
bucket
naked in
list.
Singapore all together and then get thrown in jail. And then we'll have a really good story.
Okay. I'm gonna go back into presenter mode, starting properly. Chris, I have approved you to come up as a speaker. I do see you down there, and I know you're the third guest that's meant to be up here. Um, Ideally, while I'm doing my intro, Twitter finally decides to allow you to join us. If not, I will continue doing nonsense on my end to make it possible. Um, but Hey, welcome everybody that has come to listen to us talk about Web3 stuff and not just our dating lives and the fact we're all pals. This is Press Play episode 63. The title is The Value of a Name. We are aggressively aware that a lot of you will be listening to this not right now because Gamescom is going on. That is why you will notice I am not joined by my lovely co-host Gaspodius, as he is actually there right now. He had a haircut and shaved, so you might not recognize him. He is looking sprightly and young, apparently. But
He
if
looks
you
like he's 12. I saw the picture. I was like, who's that dude with this small immutable t-shirt? And I was like, that's the new immutable intern. Don't tell him I said that, but
that's the intern they picked up from high school. Correct. So as per always, everybody, we have got some big brains up here. We are trying to get the third big brain up here, but it seems he has also disappeared. So maybe we are continuing to have X issues, but we will power through. I am joined by two people that I've spoke a lot to. So this is not new conversations. Well, it is a new conversation, but not new people for me to meet. I believe Shinjin has come up with us twice already, but I believe this may actually be Luke's first actual time on one of these ones. So I will let. Oh, he's giving me a thumbs down, so I could be wrong, but I'll let you go
I've been here a
first.
couple
Luke.
of times, even as a scheduled speaker. Sometimes I just infiltrate, but we've been here as a scheduled speaker, I think 2 times already, but
Oh,
in the beginning.
my memory is terrible. Okay, Chris, I'm allowing you up, and while I'm trying to do that, Luke, if you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and the project you are with, and I will continue to endeavor to try and get Chris up here.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Luke. I'm here with 2 accounts, so on my screen is right next to me, Luke, but most likely for everyone else, the setup is different. Thanks, X, for that. But yeah, I'm the BD and marketing for Medieval Empires. We are a mid-core strategy game. You can fight invaders, put on an armor, shop some wood, and shop some invaders in the game. We are free to play. In open beta, so you can directly jump in, takes 3 minutes and you're in. We have a custodial wallet from Immutable, means you can use your Google login or your Apple ID in order to enter the game. So even if you don't have a clue what crypto is, we're here for you. And yeah, that's me. Happy to be here to talk about names, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to list the best names. I think George is a pretty solid name. Luke, spelt with a K, is probably up there as well, probably at least C tier. And next, someone who does have a solid name, we're going over to Big Papa Sinjin. Let us know who you are and the product you are with if people somehow are not aware of you.
Hi, I'm Sinjin, and I am a game designer. And the game that I have made is not for any of you because it's for hot, crazy rich Asian moms. And so you don't all qualify. But if there are any in the audience, I'm happy to send you an NFT and get you into our game. And our game is called My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, or Meiji for short. Pleasure to be here, gentlemen.
Fantastic. Always a pleasure to have you up as well. And let's see, we have got Chris up here. Hopefully, the Twitter gods are smiling down on us and you are allowed to speak as well. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about who you are and the project you're from as well, please.
Yeah, I'm the CEO. Thanks for having me. I'm the CEO of Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, and we make a game called The Mystery Society, which is a social deduction game. Kind of think of it as Among Us meets Clue. And we did that game because we think that casual multiplayer games are going to be really important way to onboard the masses into Web3 and lower the barrier of entry. We run in a browser, we're on mobile. We're on the Immutable platform, so very easy wallets. So you don't have to know anything about crypto. And we've been doing a lot of interesting stuff with Watch to Earn, which is a way to incentivize streamers to basically promote our game by watching by streaming and then allowing players to watch streams and earn money in our play to earn tournament or earn points in our play to earn tournament. So yeah, we're gearing up right now for we're going to announce the tournament today, and gearing up for our first qualifying round for the play to earn airdrop.
Sounds great. I swear I've been watching someone play this as well, coming up on the timeline a lot. I think I've taken a look at it myself, but I don't know if I've put too much time into it. But that's a great idea you guys are having around the idea of the watch to earn and bringing people on through casual play and being browser and mobile. I've had plenty of people tell me they're doing casual play and then they're only on the browser. And I always have a little bit of a qualm with that, because I think if I'm going to boot up my PC, I'm going to probably play a game that is mainly for the PC unless I'm working. So I do like being on the mobile as well. And if you're trying to stream out to Thailand, let me know. I know quite a big deal in Thai TikTok. It's me.
Yeah, there you go.
I can attest to that.
We should talk. Yeah, no, we're looking to get streamers engaged around the world. I mean, look, you got to figure out how to leverage these social farmers to move, to help you market in Web 2. I mean, this is what we've realized, is that you can't just keep marketing the same Web 3 people over and over and over again that are, being divided between, being pulled between all these different games. We've got to grow the pie. And, the thing that Watch to Earn allows us to do is it allows us to get these folks that are willing to engage in order to, participate in an airdrop, to boost our metrics on Web 2 platforms that then can get the message out. And that flywheel seems to be working.
Yeah, that's excuse me, sorry. Yeah, that does sound like a solid plan you've got there, and it's always something that seems surprising to people, but isn't, that you can't just market to the people that are on Twitter, because there's a finite number of people. More people might be joining the space, but it's never going to match the amount of people that exist globally. So that's great to hear, and great to hear around the plans you have. Okay, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a summary of the article, which is the main theme of today's topic, and then we're going to speak broadly about it as well. The article is brought to us by the lovely Eliza. Is she in the crowd? She is not. She is actually on holiday at the moment, out of office, but I still want to make sure everyone knows she's the one that wrote it. As I say every week, I do not do her articles justice by the little summary I'm about to read you guys. So if you do want to learn more about the article we are talking about, hopefully Nada, who is cosplaying as Eliza for me, will have put it in the comments below, and then I can pin it to the top, and you guys can go over to the game's website and actually read the full article for yourself. But as a summary, X-Rite Games alumni have launched 25 startups, securing over 450 million across 35 funding rounds between 2020 and 2024. These companies mainly focus on PC and console gaming, have significant investment, particularly during the 2021 to 2022 period. Despite a strong initial funding and follow-up investments, most projects are still actually in development. To be fair, this doesn't seem too surprising to me, because that's only a year and a half, 2 years ago, with a few released projects achieving notable success. The trend highlights investors' confidence in the alumni's expertise, but underscores the challenges of turning investments into a successful project. So I think this is something that comes up a lot in our space, and it comes a lot in gaming in general. So I'm not being specific for Web3, but I know I have seen games which will always be flagging, we have got X, Y, and Z who has worked on game X, Y, and Z as well. And you've got to sometimes think about the idea of what have those people done at these previous places as well. There's one of my favorite reviewers always talks about the old school days when Doom was coming out and Quake was coming out, and everyone was accredited to working at these places, but not necessarily giving you details of how much they did work on X project or X game. So I'm going to throw this over to you first, Shinjin. When it comes to basing your confidence within a gaming product, do you put more confidence in ones that can flag all these names of people who have had previous experience in different places? Or, oh, we've got Chris. I'll let Chris go first because you raised your hand so politely. Or are you more in touch with what the team has shown they could do or are doing at the moment?
Yeah, I posted about this on LinkedIn yesterday. I mean, I think the pedigree of all these people is fine. I think, though, you have to recognize that when you're in a company like Riot and they've been on a rip of success for a decade or whatever, and money is just raining from the sky, that it's not the same pressures that a startup studio is going to be under. They have they're used to having a lot of resources. They're used to having, a lot of associates and assistants and, and people to, get their laundry and, all that kind of stuff. And so, it's definitely a culture shift and a different way of working when you have scarce resources and scarce money. But I think that, part of the problem is just that these VCs, during the 2020, 2020, really 2021, 2022 period when, money was, or sorry, no, during the like, 21, 22 period, they just loaded these startups with too much cash, like giving a startup, the thing about giving a startup a limited amount of seed cash, it forces them to prove the idea and it forces them to do it with a core team before they go hire 100 people and go crazy. And the tendency of these big company, whether it's like Blizzard or Riot or whatever, developers, is that they don't like deadlines. They want a lot of resources and a lot of money, and they believe in making video games. Like, they believe video games need to be expensive, right? And I think that you have to have a mentality in a startup that's around, how do I do more with less, and how do I move as quickly as possible towards product market fit, instead of taking a long time and cooking in the basement and then hoping when I come out people are going to like it. And so I think that ultimately I blame the VCs for giving these companies too much money that then allowed them to not have the discipline that they needed at a very crucial stage of the product, which is where you're trying to define product market fit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I always talk about my favorite reviewer. If you guys haven't gone to watch a guy called Yahtzee Croshaw, he used to do Zero Punctuation. He now does another thing called Fully Ramblaholic, and one of his main points is along the sort of lines you're speaking here, Chris, about a game that came out, I want to say 9 years ago, where they put it on Kickstarter. They asked for $100,000, and they got given, I think it was $6.2 million to make a game they had only asked for 100,000, and it took them forever to release it. And his main point is, if you give someone that much money, their first thought isn't going to be, oh, I better make that game I promised people I'd make. It's more likely going to be, wow, this cocaine smells wonderful, because they just don't have the drive to have that proof of concept out there, or the proof that this money that has come in is going to be worth it. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic point you're making there, Chris. I saw Shinjin's hand went up first, so I'll throw it over to you, Shinjin, next. What's your take on having this sort of people with these prior names behind them coming into a project? Does this give you more confidence, or how's this making you feel?
I think what's more important than the company name is the role that they played. And that's to say that also, like, even if you're not from the gaming space, I don't take it away that you couldn't make a great, fantastic game if, you're passionate about it. And, that's, you look at a lot of indie developers and they may slave away as a sole developer for 4 or 5 years by themselves and make it work. I think more importantly, though, is that when these guys are presenting to VCs or to the greater community about getting an investment, what was their role there? I mean, I was the regional director of a major gaming company for all of Asia, right? Or if I put my name down and I say I'm representing this company and this is the past, that's really different than a customer service guy or a Q&A guy who's in the same company and saying, hey, I worked at this company as well. Also, the team that you bring together, like if they were both working at Riot or they came with 3 or 4 people from Riot and they've been a team that's been working together for 3 or 4 years. Absolutely. That gives me so much more confidence in them, because at the end of the day, it is a really, really difficult business. And I got to push back on something that Chris said. I mean, like, game development, I don't care where you're at, it's so fucking hard. And when your scope is so much bigger, the crunch is just as bad or even worse. And so it's not like, I'm sure they get special perks and they have a little bit more security here and there, but also the responsibility and the expectations and the deadlines are very much there. But in terms for Riot itself, again, it's been a couple of years. or even 3 or 4 years where they've gotten funding, and the amount of funding that they also get is also going to dictate the scope of their game, which probably will be like 4 to 5 years from now. I recently was presented an RTS game where they had to recreate the whole engine, and what they had done was they actually did the prototyping, just like how LOL had used Warcraft to do prototyping to show off, before to Riot, what this game was going to be all about. LOL. That's what they've done as well. Now they're getting into the Unreal Engine, and they're raising, 10 million. The game's going to cost 40 million, and they're just at the proof of concept space, and it's been a year and a half. And so, like, I wouldn't rule anyone out. I think in terms of investment wise, yeah, it's a hard space. I mean, like, if they're seniors and they're coming in with a team that they used to work well together, and they're not just like the guy who made the wing on a character, you know, I think it's a much smarter bet than just any old bet.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some merit to it, and I like your first overall point of what it was of what did they do at this company? Because like if we say bring people on that was the coffee boy, they're ex Riot as well. It's technically true, but it doesn't give them scope to then become your lead game designer at your thing whilst twerking the idea that they are ex Riot. I see your lovely hand up there as well, Luke. I'll pass it over to you. How is this making you feel?
Yeah, just thinking if the intern of Blizzard would say like, "Hey, I worked at Blizzard before as well." That happens a lot. Like if you check actually what they did on the games, then they basically just handed people coffee. But I see it from two perspectives. So if I pitch my game or our game to a gamer, I tell him, for example, "Hey, we have this great game, the economy, and how we set up the blockchain stuff and everything," and there I purely focus on the game. But if you pitch to a VC, they actually want to hear that. Like I pitched them, hey, our game designer worked at Vuga or Huge, CPO Candy Crush, CTO was at King. We have an actor with millions of fans in the show that's bigger than Game of Thrones. Our history advisors from Harvard. So I name drop the shit out of everything, and I just do that because that gives them reassurance. Okay, they have people that they know what they do. They've worked on bigger companies before. They most likely know how stuff works because if you get someone that is fresh, they make a lot of in Germany we call it childhood diseases, right? They make a lot of mistakes in the beginning that you wouldn't make if you're experienced in the space. So what I think is you need to have a core team of people that know what they're doing, and then have a team beneath them that can be fresh people like juniors or people coming into the space because they are often eager to learn. They have lots of time because they don't have kids and family, so they can spend more time on developing, for example. But at the core position, I think it makes sense that you have people that understand how the stuff works, that have a track record or at least success rates in other games. So I think it makes sense to name drop from time to time, but I don't think that is the quality or should be the main quality of your game. Like we have someone that worked at whatever company, yeah, but your game still is shit. So I think the main focus. That's why I pitch, for example, to other gamers. Just they don't care if we have an history advisor from Harvard, but if a VC looks at it, they're like, oh, they have someone from Harvard. That's really great. They must do something good over there. So I think it makes sense that you see what kind of track record people have and that they actually understand what they're doing, but only if they haven't been the intern who just brought people coffee. So a deeper research most of the time shows, hey, those guys actually did something or not. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Hey, one last point I would make is if you take $40 million in a seed, that implies a $200 million valuation. So part of the challenge that I think AAA has with the VC model is that just the valuations that you have to hit round to round, right? Because you only get, a round or two based on, really it's that seed round where you're going to get, where the criteria is going to be the background and the team, the blah blah blah. The next time you go back to get money, it's going to be about metrics, right? And it becomes very hard to go from zero to, a valuation that's going to, be 300 million or 400 million, you're gonna like it's just it's a really high jump, right? And I think that hasn't necessarily, the amount of money that these companies were allowed to take has not necessarily set them up for success in later rounds.
I think that's a fantastic point to add on to the back of it as well. And I think that's kind of like, I guess, things that we miss out on or don't focus or look into too much. And I think it kind of slightly ties into the way Luke was explaining his answer as well. Of the only way I know when I posed this question to all of you, I was thinking of it more as someone that has the ability to invest in these games and be part of these games, right? Because that's kind of like a lot of what Web3 can be, is getting in onto these games early, the same way you couldn't actually do it within the traditional one. But then Luke's point around, that's not how you present it to a player. Like, I can see the idea of presenting, we have people from X, Y, and Z game, and telling a player about this, because it might give them the social recognition of, I've played this game from that company, I might like this game because it's from the same people. But outside of that, I think the weight that we might put on it as people that are trying to make some sort of profit or be within this game as more than just a player, that I do see from that angle as well. Oh, we've seen Luke's hand go up. Luke, you've got a point, sir.
Yeah, there we also have to divide the gamers into two categories, like real gamers or Web3 gamers / investors. Because if I pitch it to an investor gamer, like most of the guys in Web3 are not there for the gameplay, they're there for the gains, then I still take out half of the pitch of, hey, CPO, Candy Crush and stuff like this, because they're looking for reasons why they should invest in the token, for example. If I pitch it to a normal gamer, then I just tell them, hey, look at this awesome gameplay, look at the game economy, look how we set things up that's different from other games. So even in Web3, there are still two kind of gamers in my perspective. And there I would still, if you want to reach the Web3 gamer, go down that road where you say, like, I mean, that's the first thing everyone tells you in Web3. First, look at the team, then look at the rest, right? Because if it's a docs team and they have experience, that's what every crypto dude tells you. Look at the team, look at the tokenomics, look at, they always count like 3 or 4 things. That's why in Web3, that's still really important to have that, apparently. But for normal gamers, they don't care. Like, I mean, when I played World of Warcraft in the beginning, like, what is it, 15 years ago, I didn't even know like who made that game. I just knew everyone was playing it. It was cool. It's fun. I want to go in. I didn't even know who built Candy Crush. Like, I didn't care. I just played it because it's fun. But when I entered Web3, I was like, oh, they have a token. Oh, I better check out the team. So in Web3, it's still a little different, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I definitely mildly agree with your split. I'm very much against the term real gamers. I know you like it, Luke. I'm pretty certain Shinjin likes it as well, because I've seen him use it previously as well. I just hate it as a fucking term, because I've never been given a certificate to say I am a real gamer. And I can assure you that a lot of people wouldn't put the same amount of time into RimWorld, which is the one I've got one of my most hours in. So maybe I'm not classed as a real gamer, because it's just a management sim, right? So there is that. Before I move
You're
on
a
to
real
my next...
gamer. Don't worry, George. It's okay.
You don't have to. You don't
let's
have to
go.
share that cross, buddy.
And we know why you
I
play
make you a real gamer.
RimWorld, just because of the name.
Thank you, boys. Thank you. And before I go on to my
Obviously.
next... Before I go on to my next point around the article, I want to just go on to one other thing that Luke said. There are two types of people in Web3, those that want to just play the game and those that are an investor gamer. I would tell you that is false, sir. There is no shot someone has got into Web3 without the slightest hope that they want to make money. No one is just in Web3 for the games. If they tell you this, I personally believe they're just lying to try and, I don't know, seem cool. There's so few games that are in a complete enough state that I feel people will have come in here without some sort of underlying ulterior motive. That might just be me being cynical and jaded at the world, but that's what I believe. So before I go on to my next question, I didn't start within gaming. I've mainly been an outside of gaming, just someone that played, someone that was a fan of games, someone that watched lots of reviews, lots of breakdowns of how games were made, stuff like that. Then 3 years ago, I entered the space. I entered with the team. I moved into designing their game loop, that sort of stuff as well. So I've never been in the Web 2 traditional industry of gaming. But my example is that I did 11 years in the army. I then stopped being in the army, and then I had to work with civilian people that obviously hadn't been trained to the same level as I was around routine, timings, respect, stuff like that. And it was a very different shift for me in the way I had to work. A lot of you have touched on it slightly already, but do you feel that some of these people that have these big names that are coming across from Riot might not be prepared and might not excel the way they could do in the same sort of teams they would have within traditional gaming as they do have in Web3? And I'm kind of thinking about stuff that we've seen recently around games that have then had to either leave Web3 or drop part of their Web3 out, and how much exposure some of these people making the games have to people that can give them such open and easy criticism. And a lot of the time, it's not constructive. They're just throwing poo. I'll go over to you, Luke, first, because you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention spent 15 years as an officer in the army before. I've never entered a space where stuff is delayed that often, where people are not on time. You join meetings and they don't show up. So Web3 is definitely a little different when it comes to that. But besides that, like gaming changed so much over time. I still have my Nintendo here, then my PlayStation. Then we went to from console games to computer games. Like changes are in every industry where you are. Like that's a common thing. So I think that that new technology, even in traditional gaming, comes out like all the time. Like new developments that they have to adapt to. The only thing is, I have the feeling, and it's just a feeling, I don't have numbers to it, that Web3 changes a lot because it's really new, or it sounds stupid, really new. I mean, we have it since a couple of years now, but we're on the forefront of something. But the same thing happened in traditional gaming. Like there were also new technologies that came in and everything, but 100% agree on Web3 is different from outside world. Like at least when you have a military background, 100%, that's completely different. But also it's like more relaxed. I like we had interviews with people that that didn't even show up with the CV or something like this. They just said, "I worked there before. Check it out." So it's a little different, but I actually like that because you judge people often in Web3 based on the work that they have done and not based on their resume or their qualifications. Because you can have someone that is really good developer, but he has zero certifications for anything. But if you can check the work that he did on his GitHub or something like this, you see, okay, that's really good that you did. So I don't care if he has a degree or not. The only thing that I care is that he passes the KYC and the background checks in order to be good for the company.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that is here as well. And that's one of the things I do like about it. I see Shinjin's hands up, so I'll send it to Shinjin before I throw over another point around this as well. So Shinjin, hands up, sir.
Yeah, well, like if you're from Riot, generally speaking, like you're not going to come into Web3, right? Because if Web3, a majority of people think it's just dumb money, right? And they just want to fundraise, right? And, they just want to look at it as a different avenue. For me personally, like I love the fact that in Web3, you can be whoever and you can be a Twitter profile or an NFT and then just kind of do your thing, right? And then kind of, get your props. But on the other hand, for old fuckers like me, I rely on my background to like get me a leg up. And Web3 is horrible because like all my 50 years of experience just is fucking in the toilet. And I got to talk to like these peons who like think that I'm like 23 until they meet me in real life and they realize, oh, he's an old fucker and he's big. And then they're respectful online. So, there's a go give and take there.
I thought people are aware of your age, but could be mistaken. Just kidding.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if people were not aware of Shinjin's age. I have people that think I'm in my early 20s, and then they try and do the math of my prior experience, and something isn't math in there if I was actually in my early 20s.
If you take off the beard, you definitely go as your early 20s.
I get that a lot, and a lot of Thai people tell me I should take off the beard as well, but I kind of am reluctant to because of how many years I spent having to take off the beard. Now I'm keeping it as a rebellious boy that I am. So I'm just going to tack on one bit before I pass the question over to Chris, and I might revisit Shinjin as well with this same idea that whilst there are these differences that both two other guests have mentioned already, do you think it kind of opens people up to a vulnerability they're maybe not used to due to how transparent and open Web3 tries to be? I know as someone that has done streaming previously, I was a Minecraft streamer, only 5,000 followers or some stuff, and people were kind of well, there was trolls. It's the internet. There was trolls, but it's never been as bad as some of the stuff I get now that I've been doing streaming and content creation for Web3. And if a developer is not used to this kind of feedback so early on within their process, do you think Web3 can make that harder for some of these traditional people? Chris?
I think that how you develop your community in Web3 is really important and who you develop it with. And I think one of the mistakes that people make, and I don't know that we've made this one, but we've made a lot, is to think that all community is the same. And I think that really what you're trying to do is identify people who are who want to be there to play the game. I think you're right that like it's naive to think that people are there just to play the game and they don't want to make money. And look, we're making Web3 games, so I think we're committed to the idea of people being able to to make money off of their gameplay. But not everyone, but people who who are competitive and win things, people who collect rare things, um, but uh, but I think that and I think the money aspect also makes people a lot more, let's call it, passionate. Gamers have always been very opinionated, and I think that whenever people's money is on the line, it kind of gets it gets even hotter. But you want to attract people who actually want to authentically be part of your community and not and aren't just there to extract. And I think that's one of the big things that people are starting to learn from the last cycle is, all these played airdrop campaigns came out, and a lot of people did bots and engaged, growth hacking metrics that brought in, arguably the wrong users, and people came in, kind of took the free stuff and then bolted. I think with this company that I forget the name of the game, but these guys that pulled out of Web 2, out of Web 3 to Web 2. I mean, I hear all their arguments, and they're not they're not invalid. I mean, Web 3 is a tough space, right? And right now is not exactly a boom time, and not everyone is going to be able to. I think one of the big assumptions that we all made coming into this space is like, oh, there's a bunch of players, and if I give them token, I'm going to be able to, get a bunch of people to play my game without having to spend real money. And it doesn't really work out that way. You wind up having to hire a lot of KOLs and, and agencies and create a lot of content. And, there's a lot of money and activity that goes into giving away free, free money. So, there's that aspect of it that just like it's hard and expensive, to a certain degree. And the ROI isn't necessarily there in Web 3. If you look at it strictly from the perspective of the game, it may be better to acquire users in Web 2. And so I think that, my conclusion has been that, there are players in Web 3, but you have to think of crypto Twitter as like mostly token investors, right? And some of whom are players. And ultimately, there just aren't enough players in Web 3 to sustain any of these games. So we're going to have to bring people from the outside, right? And so that's that you can't if your thesis is Web 3 is going to bring me all my users, then you're probably going to bust out. And I think that that's what these guys found. And for a lot of games, that means choosing between Steam, which won't let you do Web 3 stuff, or or continuing down some path of like trying to do both, which is really hard. You know.
Oh, did you cut off or did you finish your sentence with
No, I finished my
Sorry.
sentence.
Okay, because it
I
wasn't
thought I
letting
left
me
you all
unmute.
stunned and amazed.
Stunned silence. No, it wouldn't let me unmute at the same time that your sentence abruptly finished. I was like, perfect, I've been kicked from the stage. That's going to be great for the rest of the show. Okay, we see Sinjin, your hand has come up. Hopefully, you're going to talk about how people are a bit mean in Web3, but they're just gutless wanks.
No, I want to being old. I always have a perspective of looking at the beginning of things, and the reason why we ended up in this situation was originally with Axie Infinity. There were these massive player numbers from guilds and from emerging markets, and we all thought that there's a huge player base here that's available if we have a model that's going to provide incentive for them when you're looking at Axie Infinity only. And then the way that the industry has evolved over the last couple of years is that the greater market that wasn't there with Axie Infinity, have been these investor, gamer, NFT holder types, which have ended up dominating the conversation because guilds themselves had to pivot because the play to earn model was no longer valid, and they've pivoted to ecosystem funds or their own chain and so on and so forth. And then we're left in this situation, exactly what Chris has said, where giving away something free or whatever like this, or having this community, is actually a massive cost. And I think one cost that we don't talk about enough is that if this is a massive investment relations kind of community kind of project, who do people really want to hear from? They don't really necessarily want to hear from the community manager. They want to hear from the founder or someone quite senior. And this is extremely tasking for a lot of founders. And I think for the older founders like myself, I'm pretty much the last one who's still regular on a lot of spaces in my age group, whatever, late 40s plus, because it is brutal. It is brutal hanging out with you guys. It is brutal, going to these Twitter spaces. It's brutal being on Twitter, where I've had to join 3 times now because the connection sucked and I finally got to my destination. And the mental health aspect of it too is brutal. Let's put it this way: I'm talking to my senior devs and my producer, and I'm talking to my core investors, and I'm setting up my marketing. And I'm dealing with the tokenomics and the listing in the future and with our chain. And I didn't mention it. Thank you, Zai Blockchain. I love you guys. We're on Zai Blockchain on Arbitrum now. And there's all this stuff. And then, I have to represent our company in order to, be legitimate in this space as a founder. And in my generation, and I'm really aging myself here, okay, social media is optional, okay? I don't interact with my friends on Instagram. Yes, sometimes I'll find my old ex-girlfriends on Facebook and stuff like that, if it really comes down to it. But it's quite optional. But crypto Twitter Web3 Twitter is not optional if you're in this space. And finding things to talk about and interact, it is a really unique skill set. I've tried to make a meme and I have failed. I have failed for 3 years. I can't make one fucking meme that's actually funny that I would laugh at. I look at it and I'm like, this is such a pathetic meme. I can't even pick the fucking graphics of a meme that exists to reply to somebody else. And I end up having to put the same emoji over and over and over again because I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't get it, right? So, for the older founders or the founders who are spending a majority of their time in dev, it's extremely difficult to be in this space. And the trade-off used to be you're in this space and there's these massive guilds who will bring in whatever 10, 20,000 players on the day, and they will play, and the guilds themselves will invest and hold your assets. And that's no longer true because the model wasn't sustainable. And we're in this kind of transitional period. And I think a lot of fundamentals of what we all believed, what made Web3 unique and what gave us value, namely community and, an instant player base and a model that is going to work just because, there's just so much liquidity, that's gone out the window. And we're left with, are games really going to ship right now, or are games backed by, still these massive, funds, or are they coming from Riot or something like this? So, as things have changed, they've also come back to like being the same as they were before. And, it's just hard. And I'm not saying that to whine or anything like that. I just like to say that, it's just difficult. And the entire blockchain space where, we're looking to abstract the blockchain aspect of it, that only brings us to parity with Web 2. And if that's parity with Web 2, then goddamn, this game got to still be better than what's in Web 2. And building an open and doing this in like less than 3 years, which is just a fucking hard ask.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point you make throughout your whole monologue, sir. There, the only thing I would pick you up is the suggesting you're in your early 40s. I believe this may have been a fabrication, but everything else, I think you're making some fantastic points about that as well. We are actually running out of time we have here today, but what I like to do at the end of it is allow you guys just a little bit, just to tell people what they need to be looking out for your project as well. So anyone that is out there can find out more about it. I know everyone always likes to discover more stuff. I know already I'm now ready to discover more about Chris's project, and I'm the host of the thing that brought him on, so it's working already. So I'm going to start with you, Luke. Luke, a little bit about what Medieval has coming up. I normally say a quick 1 minute, but I realize a quick 1 minute is the same as a long 1 minute. So a little bit about Medieval, please, sir.
Yeah, we recently cooked the commanders. They you can with the next release use them in game as well to generate real cool heroes with even better stats. Then we are currently cooking also on a mobile version, so you can expect us to be on mobile by the end of the year. Also integrating PvP. And I would just recommend everyone checking it out. Takes like 3 minutes and you're in the game. And in order to keep my minute, I just want to thank you for being here today, and not on your TikTok live streams for once, here live with you. Happy about that. And yeah, thanks for having us.
Just to clear it up, Luke was with me on the live stream I was doing prior to this space, where me and Tan have now put in roughly, I think, 15 to 20 hours in Ranch Simulator. So guys out there saying you need to spend lots of money in games to make games good, go check out what Ranch Simulator looks like. And I bought that for $3, by the way. So if any of you are worried, go see that. That's got a lot of playtime as well. And it was ridiculously cheap and looks like garbage. Next, let's throw it over to Shinjin, a little bit about My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, sir.
Yes, I'll keep it short. We're on in our beta, and we are rolling into our open beta and full TGE in a couple of months. We've been in optimization hell for the last 6 months, which it's a pure physics game, and so we're totally original. There's nothing in Web 2 or Web 3 like it, because we are exceeding the physics capabilities of our multiplayer sync system. And so other than wanting to shoot myself, I'm very happy that, we're at this point with Zai and Arbitrum. They've been of fantastic support. We love them to death. And in terms of upcoming things, yeah, we're in our play to airdrop period. Unfortunately, because we're not stable enough, it hasn't gone as well as we'd like. But hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll get it up to full launch stability, and I will come out with my guns and welcome everybody.
Sounds fantastic, and sounds like something to be looking forward to and checking out when it's fully optimized and that whole club's crashing around me and I'm throwing champagne bottles at fools and such. So I'm looking forward to that as well, big sir. Okay, Chris, finding yourself a little bit about what people need to be looking out for.
Yeah, I feel your pain, Sinjin. I've been chasing around a nasty network bug for the last month, so um, it sucks when, and we're up against our Play to Airdrop tournament as well. Fortunately, we're going to ship a big update today, actually, that introduces new matchmaking and introduces a lot of bug fixes, and should speed up the game. And also introduces scoring. So now you get scores every time you play around, and it introduces NFT costume bonuses. So you get a bonus every time you play with rare avatar items, NFT avatar items. So we're shipping that today, and then we're gearing up for our play to airdrop tournament that I think we're going to announce today is on the 12th of September. So looking forward to getting that going.
Sounds interesting and good as well. So everybody out there that is listening and anyone that listens later in the future, make sure you go and check out all three of the people we've had up here. Thank you everyone that has come up with us today. And thank you everyone that is listening. If you didn't catch it all, maybe you joined late, maybe you've left already. If you've left already, you won't be hearing this just yet, but you could if you went to check this out as a podcast. It is on the foremost reputable podcast places where you can find out and listen to everything that we have been doing on this Press Play and all of the other 62 that we have done up until this point as well. Obviously, Gamescom is happening at the moment, so all of you should be out there with your eyes on Twitter, YouTube, all those places, and see what's coming out in Gamescom. Just gaming world in general, I'm super excited about a lot of the things I've been seeing announced. I think the one I've been most excited for so far was a new Age of Mythologies, which looks like it could slap because I was a big fan of that when I was a youth, which I am no longer. Reminder that if you are looking for anything around Web3 gaming in general, head over to games.gg. We've got users, guides, reviews, and all that sort of stuff. We also have our NFTs, our vault, our G3 token. We've got lots of things. Go check out what we're doing as well. We're cool. Don't have my co-host, so I don't need to talk anything about that. So that means all of you have a nice time. Play games you enjoy playing. Make sure you're not just grinding games for the sake of grinding it. And I will see you, I believe, next week for the last time before I head out to Korea Blockchain Week, followed by Token. Next month is going to be a busy month for all of us, and I believe a lot of us will be traveling. So I hope you have fun while you're at home now playing all the games. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.